morning, world. Morning, human race. Oh, good boy. Good morning, America. It is the morning of the 29th of July, 2013. This is the Cintamani Asram video blog, or reality show, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Presenting myself, Robin Kasmarczyk. And Bilal Reese Stone. Dile hola al mundo, Rafa. Mira la cabeza. Dile hola mundo.
Hola mundo.
And this is my video blog for today, where I wanted to share with you guys what the fuck is going on with our lives and why am I so fucked up today. Alright, so let's start. I just did this whole dialogue, like, you know, a half an hour video blog dialogue thing, and pushed a button, disappeared. Wow. I was like, fuck. So I'm doing it again. Time of crisis. We have literally 3 days to move out of here. We have no money. Mom and Sis fought, and Sis got kicked out of the house, so I got the kids. I need to pause so I can go take a poo. I'll be right back. Okay. So, where was I? Oh yes, no money. No, nothing. Just no cards, no money, no nothing. Kids thrown over here in the floor. Store kind of like in disarray. My rat's well fed. That's a good thing. The mice I let loose for a while so they can play. And okay, so that's not a very clear explanation of what's going on. Let me go back and reframe it so that those of you that don't know us know what's going on. Alright, again, my name is Robin. I need to go to what was I talking about? I mean, I'm reframing the thing. My name is Robin. I have my niece and my nephew with me right now by the names of Nanda Dulan and Rasastali. And their dad is in Colombia. Their mother is out in the world somewhere with another little niece by the name of Shemakunda. She's their mom. She's okay, I hope. And mom is at her house, and these kids were living with my sister at mom's house. Mom and sister had a fight. Sister moved out. Sissy didn't have anywhere to put her kids. They went over to mom's. Mom was having a really hard time of it, so they came over to me to kind of relax and soothe things over until we know what the fuck is the next move. But that's point one. Point two is that we have been living off sister, mother, and the kids and I out of my little Social Security card, which has been our savior for the last 4 or 5 years. We've eaten out of there, and it's helped me rent this place. But for some clerical errors, my Social Security card didn't get sent to the right address, and I'm without it. Social Security disability, by the way, if you're asking. And I'm without it, and without being able to pay this whole show. Now, I'm a working man. I like to work for a living. I've never shied away from hard work. But in Mexico, it's hard. And without that money, and with 2 kids right now to feed, it's harder. So, okay. Basically, that's the setup. That's the setting. I'm the type of guy that can go under a bridge and live very comfortably for a year or so if I have no responsibilities. If I have responsibilities, if I have charges, if I have things that I have to take care of, very different scenario. And these kids requested to stay in Mexico, not go back to Colombia with their dad, so I will do all in my power to make sure that that request is met to the best of my abilities. So that's the setup. That's Cintamani Asram video blog. And those of you that have been watching our videos will kind of know that we're a very loosely knit kind of hippie family that enjoys having a good time and going hunting mushrooms, and all this that is happening in a sense is part of the mushroom hunt, because it's rainy season and I should be hunting mushrooms, but the universe has made it so that that makes itself very improbable at this time. And I think the reason is because we found a mushroom circle and I let it go to rot. So the mushrooms are kind of like beating me upside the head saying, "You dumb fuck, you eat mushrooms fresh, you don't store them, you have to eat them fresh." And yeah, that's what I did wrong. I think mushrooms should be eaten fresh. But that's another topic. Okay, that's family topic. Projects topic. Okay. Well, those of you that have been watching our channel, our YouTube channel, know that I want to make a film called The Adventures of Princess Dawn, starring my niece, my beautiful niece, my nephew, and my other little niece. That has been kind of put on hold indefinitely because it's very difficult to make a movie if you're in the middle of all this chaos. Now, here's the interesting thing about movie making. Movie making really is theater, and theater is really storytelling. Storytelling is a form of lying to people. It's a form of telling a story. Not lying, telling a story. So that's a way to say it. This video blog, it's a fracking blog. It's the real nuts and bolts bullshit, the way it's going down. From my point of view, very important little detail, from my point of view. And more specifically from the point of view of my camera and what I can film and not film. When I was young and foolish, I thought, I'm going to run for president and I'm going to propose that my campaign slogan will be that every single moment of my life will be on a blog for all to see. That didn't quite pan out, but here I am making a blog for all to see. To judge, well, people always have opinions. People always have opinions of what's good, what's bad, what could be done, what could not be done. Hopefully, the people that actually care for us in this blog, and I don't just mean me then, I mean the people around me, will give their input and their ideas onto how to better our lives. Here's the tricky part. The tricky part is that as we expand our center of influence, I think in Deoxy.org they call it the monkey sphere, which is 200 people, more or less, that are intimately associated to me, of which there is a hierarchy of people. Right now the hierarchy is us three in this room. The most intimately related people to me in this moment are the 2 children that are right here, which is that one there, who's still asleep, and the other one who's probably surfing some blogger. Anyways, that's called the monkey sphere, and that the point of that is that as I diffuse my existence on these mediums, on this YouTube channel, on this blog, I also diffuse the existence of these people into the cyberspace and their actions and the reactions, and everybody has opinions about what they should and should not be doing. It's the nature of humanity. But since they don't know these people, their opinions are really not worth much, are they? That's kind of the reason that I don't usually talk about politics and religion and all those wonderful things that make people so angry and so... But there is one aspect of this war on drugs that I should be talking about, because we do live in Mexico. And the dangers of the war on drugs, not of drugs, but of the war on drugs in Mexico, are notorious. People get their heads chopped off around here. If you don't believe me, go to my Facebook and check out some of the videos from the blog del Marco. You will see with your own eyes. Anyways, I have to venture my opinion on this humble subject. I feel it's my civic, social, and political obligation. Alright, now, what do we know about the war on drugs in my town? First of all, we know that my town has very fertile soil, very good climate for growing weed. There's a lot of mountains full of tall trees where these plants can be hidden from view, and from view of helicopters, flying helicopters. And there is a very huge kind of community of pot smokers, and they're all loosely united in a more or less ample front. Okay? We also know that, that's just information you don't know, which I do, and I'm sharing it with you so that you guys can see where this all goes. We also know that the price of weed recently skyrocketed. Now, as a smoker, you have to wonder why. Because there's plentiful weed all around me. So why would the price of weed skyrocket? So, in my best effort to answer that question, I did what everybody that would seek an honest answer to such a question would do. I went to an expert, in this case the police. I asked, why did the price go up? And the fellow said, well, because the criminality index went up. Really? So I had an answer to my question. There's a lot of weed, the price of weed goes up because the crime index goes up. Which means, as we all know, weed is a weed. It grows very easily anywhere you plant it. Stoners know this because they throw their seed, well, not urban stoners, country stoners know this because they throw their seeds on the ground and usually they prop out and they start growing, if the conditions are right. So we know there's a lot of weed growing all over the place. But where the problem comes in is not that the weed, let's call it medicine for our purposes. The problem where the problem that comes in all this equation is that there's a market. There's a real palpable market. This town particularly has a lot of tourists. And tourists are notoriously known to purchase medicine in this town and towns around. So the market determines the price of the product. The quantity of the product doesn't change. What changes is the price based on market conditions. Criminality index in Vita Bravo means the market conditions are ripe for an increase in price. Somebody knows this, and somebody is making a ton of money out of this. I don't really care about that because I never really was into making illegal business. But I do care about supplying the needs of my family. And in this case, the needs are security, the needs are honesty, the needs are not having to worry about having your head chopped off. So, as I have a lot of friends that have those same needs, I try to figure out what could we do as a society to help them achieve those needs. Obviously, making the price of weed and the accessibility of weed skyrocket is not going to help, because that means that the index of criminality involved in the trade of weed will skyrocket as well. If something is very valuable, for instance diamonds, there will be a dark diamond trade, and folks will be killing little African children in the Congo to make sure those diamonds get to some Swiss diamond cutter. Okay? And they will do it in the most unimaginable ways. Here in Mexico, it's a very similar situation. But the product has a need, has a real need, which is health. Now, the medical marijuana movement in the United States is basically controlled to some extent by the mob. Why? Because the weed itself is a mob-controlled product. Say that the mob wanted to control tomatoes. Well, the first thing they would need to do to control them would be to make them illegal. Logic, right? If the tomato trade is illegal, you can control it. And those folks that are not afraid to break those laws will probably be in the top echelons of the illegal tomato trade. This train of thought, this kind of like brainstorm, leads me to the second theme, the second subject. Justice and law. Now, I've had chains put on my hands many times. I've had chains put on my hands in Germany and the United States. There is something about having somebody put chains in your hands that it is profoundly spiritual, because for a brief moment you no longer can handle your life. You're literally a slave to the whims and caprices of another human being, in this case usually a person with a uniform, that is telling you what to do, what not to do, based on some laws that may or may not be just. It's wrong. It's just plain wrong. There should be another way. We as a species have been chaining each other since the beginning of history, since the beginning of technology, since the beginning of chains. I wonder when the first chain was invented. I imagine it was a long time ago. And we need to stop it. We need to get off that racket. We need to figure out a way collectively, as a species, to stop doing that to each other. Because the only thing that a chain teaches you is that you must do anything in your power, anything, not to be in it. And such a thought, such a concept, goes to the core of the human spirit. You're either a slave or you're free. And if freedom is your goal, there is no limit to the things you will do to achieve it. You see? And that's dangerous. I mean, do we really want Jeffrey Dahmer, free in the woods, running naked in the woods. Hard choice, isn't it? So, where am I going with this? Just and unjust laws. My concept of the law is that the law is what prevents folks from harming each other. There's not a victim, there is not a crime. So all of the laws that are based on property or custom or taboo are basically flawed, because to have a law, you have to protect somebody from something. You can't just criminalize people for their thoughts or their behaviors, which is what we're doing in the war on drugs. You know, if folks want to put on their minds on hold, if they're not harming anybody doing it, what right do we have to stop them from it? And I don't just mean marijuana. I mean all drugs. I mean LSD, cocaine, hash, any drug that the mind can wish for, if it's not going to make the person go out and kill people with an axe, should not be a problem, should it? Now, there is a huge problem of this synthetic, I think they call it spice or something, in Greece and in Italy, which causes folks to go totally insane, as many drugs do. And the need for it is so intense that they will rob, kill, maim, murder. But if this drug was readily available for them, they could probably just keep doing it until they die and not really worry about it, you see. And the raping, killing, and murdering to get the money, to get the drug, well, the addiction there is not the drug, but the money. So, the addiction, the problem here with the weed in Mexico is not the drug, it's the money. And the money is what is causing folks to go off into Iraq and Afghanistan and, like in Syria and Iran, to kill folks for money. So the addiction here is not drugs, folks, it's money. And that addiction is very subtle. In this case, I need to get the rent of this place paid. I got 3 days. I can't figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out and I'm not getting through. But the kids are fine. They've eaten today and they've eaten yesterday. We have a few grapes and coffee and still a couple of tortillas and cheese to have breakfast, so they will not starve. I'm not fighting for them to eat. I'm fighting for them to have a roof over their head if they need it. And myself, I don't need it as much, and I need a good diet. I could go on a nice cave or mountain or bridge under some lake, a river, for months, years, and not suffer from it, because I need a good diet, and the exercise is good. But these kids deserve a little bit more. So I find myself in the necessity to meditate on the nature of money and the needs of money. And that takes me to the meditation of just and unjust laws, and that takes me to the meditation of chains and what they represent. Money is another chain. The need for money is another chain. In the tarot, which is what I do here for a living, and by the way, the business goes well. If all else fails, I always have my cards to feed my family, and that's thanks to the cards and the gods. And where was I? Oh yes, money. If you look at the devil card in the tarot, you will recognize that there is two people chained to a dark pillar on top of which is a beast standing, and the beast has a torch where he is lighting the tail, very interesting concept, the tail of the man in fire. And the man has horns in the tail, and the tail is on fire for the man, and the tail for the woman has a bunch of grapes on top of it. And those are the chains. In the case of men, it's their lust. In the case of women, it's their hunger. The two principal chains of the devil. And the devil's chain, because the devil is also in chains, although he doesn't recognize it, is pride. And the pride is that he understands the system, traffics in the system to make sure that the system works. He's putting fire on the man's tail to ignite his lust. Live long and prosper. Just lost my train of thought. Cintamani Asram video blog for the 29th of July of 2013. I hope you enjoyed it. Just rambling on, actually. I'm not saying anything of great importance to great political impact, and I could be playing music, couldn't I? But, you know, it's just the type of day where you need to sit down in front of your computer and download to the Dajjal all of your thoughts and ideas so that the Dajjal can post them out there for folks to see. Do not believe what you see on the internet. Do not believe smoke and mirrors, which is what the television, the internet really is. But believe your hearts. Believe your hearts. Believe your minds. And last night I talked to my dad. Nice chat. Couldn't get the Skype working. So, but he was worried about me and my family and what we're doing and what's going on with us. And I don't blame him. It's been a hard, June, July has been just really hard. And thank God my family gives me a lot of strength to keep going. See, here's the funny thing about money problems. My whole life, the thing that most worried me, and the reason I didn't want to have a family, was money. Because I was worried that if you didn't have money, you couldn't take care of kids, you shouldn't have them. And I was so wrong about that, because now I got my sister's kids, and I'm taking care of them without money, and very little money. So it's a no-brainer that you can have your cake and eat it too if you have your family. And that's the message for today. And I don't know, there's so much more I have to discuss, but I'm not clear. My mind is kind of vague on the subject, and I just want to let this down. Oh yeah, I should mention another little tidbit. 43 minutes rambling. It's a lot of rambling. Which I just read this morning. The British government is making some filters to censor internet porn. And in those same censors, they can censor political activism, they can censor, conspiracy theories, they can censor all types of folks that have nothing to do with porn, which I kind of warned folks about a long time ago. Censoring the internet in any form is mind-fucking people. And mind-fucking people is not a polite thing to do. For the internet, for the cyberspace, to really be of any use to mankind as a tool, as a teaching tool, for it not to be the Dajjal, but to be really a teaching tool for mankind, it cannot, it must not, it will not be censored. It has to be totally free. which means that any horrible, dreadful, terrible, unimaginably evil image, thought, idea that can come to a person's mind should be allowed to exist in the internet. And if it's not, then the internet, which is the collective mind of all of us in a kind of collective world book, Akashic record, will have to cease to exist, because it will become then the Dajjal, the one-eyed monster that controls everybody's thoughts and feelings and that doesn't let anybody be human. My point of view. One last thought. The reason I like to play Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of folks have asked themselves that, is that I believe we live in a world of dungeons. Today, in various places around the world, an innumerable number of human beings will be waking up in a dungeon. They will be waking up in a dungeon, some with chains, some without. Children, women, old people will wake up to the horrors of a dungeon keeper, of a dungeon master. Usually in the form of a uniformed person, usually in the form of somebody with a uniform or a badge. Sometimes in the form of some really insane maniac like the guy in Cleveland. But a dungeon, a place with no windows, one door, and you never know what's on the other side of the door. Usually it's something unpleasant that you want to kill. Not a nice world to be in, guys. Nice world to play video games in, especially if there's little elves. They're all dressed kind of sexy, and dragons are all wow. But in the real life, in the day-to-day, we should be out in the open air, in the woods, looking at the little butterflies, and the birds, and the bees, and not worried about chains and dungeons and dragons with badges. So that's the blog for today. Enjoy. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Bye.